If you didn't think guitar strings made a difference in tone, I think you need to watch this. Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Jeremy and welcome to the String Showdown. Today is going to be pretty cool because we have Stringjoy Phosphor Bronze versus D'Addario XS in Phosphor Bronze. Both strings pretty different from each other. They are both Phosphor Bronze, I'll give that to you, but they are coated versus non-coated strings. So kind of curious to see if there's going to be a big difference there. Hint, hint, there is a crazy big difference, and I think you're gonna hear it throughout every single example. I know I do these string showdowns, and sometimes the differences are so subtle that it's almost like, well, what's the point? A lot of it is mainly a feel thing that it can't really convey in video form, and I can just tell you like, hey, one feels different from the other. But with this, the tone is completely different in every single example, and that's why I think this video is pretty cool, because you're gonna get to hear the differences pretty much every single time over and over, but in different ways. But before we get started, I'm gonna ask you to subscribe to the channel. You're not gonna regret it. It's gonna be a well-worthy investment of your time. And also, give me a thumbs up if you end up liking this video, because that really helps the channel grow. But let me go through my spiel. So if you're new here, I'm gonna say that I do record all these examples the same exact way every single time. So essentially what you're seeing on the video is not really an accurate representation of how I record it. Essentially, I record everything first, and then I just play back the video over the audio recordings. That way I can sort of do it in a really controlled manner and pretty much try to treat this as an experiment, because I really do want this to be an experiment without any variables whatsoever. So I do limit the variables as best as I can. But since this is an audio test in a way, I definitely encourage you to wear headphones or earbuds. That's really gonna bring out the subtleties in these examples. Honestly, for this video, I think laptop speakers will probably work just fine because the differences are so stark. Let's listen to some strumming and see what differences we can hear. All right, so I told you these examples were not gonna be subtle, at least with these two sets of strings. The D'Addario XS's, they're a pretty bright string. I tend to like bright strings, so at least my ear sort of gravitates toward that. The Stringjoys were much deader sounding, to be honest with you. Some people think that's kind of a good thing because it brings out more of the characteristics of their acoustic guitar. I don't love it personally. I really rather just have a bright string that resonates longer, that has more sustain, and is a little bit more chimey. And I recognize that there is a point in which the string is too bright, and these XS's might be touching that line, but there's also the spectrum where strings can sound too dead, too muddy, and I think the Stringjoys are actually touching that line too. Let's listen to some funk playing and see how these strings stack up. So this is probably my favorite way to play acoustic guitar. I really like that percussive sound that you can get by essentially palm muting the strings, and the Stringjoys weren't really giving that to me. Again, they sounded more dead, more thuddy. The XSs were probably a little bit on the bright side, again, as I said before, but let's listen to my favorite example, which is really just like a slow arpeggio. You don't really get that crazy pick attack like you probably would with the funk playing, but it really just is how the strings sound, and you really do get a feel for what the sustain and decay are of the strings. So essentially how long they're gonna ring out. So take a listen to this. Before we go any further, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I'm curious to see what you think of these strings. Stringjoy, again, I've been marketed heavily with the Stringjoy. I think they're going on like a crazy marketing campaign through Facebook and Instagram and even YouTube, where I'm seeing tons of ads for Stringjoy, which is how I got to know them. I don't think I ever really remember seeing them at Guitar Center, like when I used to go to Guitar Center, before it turns into like a barren wasteland. I don't know, mine's a barren wasteland. I don't know about the Guitar Centers by you. Man, I hate Guitar Center. Oh, it's the worst. But I want to listen to one more example just to really put these sets of strings through their paces. This is a little bit more finger picky. So let's just take a listen to this one. So that's the Showdown. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, if there are a brand of strings that you want me to do a Showdown video for, let me know that too, because I'm really curious to see what you all want to hear. I basically already went through my tirade in a different video about how the Stringjoys sound. You can check that video out up here, but I'm gonna sort of gloss over it one more time. I really do think the Stringjoys were a little bit too dead. And maybe that's a stylistic thing that they're going for, but to me, man, it was almost like unacceptably dead. Almost, why am I paying $18 for these new strings when right out of the box, they sound like this? So wasn't a huge fan of that. The XSs, on the other hand, felt really great. I really did like them. And I remember when I played them for the first time, they sounded and they felt the most like Elixir strings to me, which they're kind of my tried and true favorite. Although hearing these strings back to back, as in making this video, the XSs, I wonder if they're a little bit too bright for me, which also sort of makes me question like, hey, are Elixirs a little bit too bright for me? It's kind of interesting making these videos because I will listen to all these different sets of strings in a row, and it really lets me hear what the differences are and kind of questions my own thinking on what I think I like, or at least what I think I should be liking. To me, still love the Elixirs, but the XSs are definitely a close match. And I'll even say that for an I think they're treated but uncoded. I could be wrong in that, and I'm getting a lot of people who are correcting me on this one. But I think the D'Addario XTs, which are a different string, I actually think they're awesome strings too. So D'Addario is sort of knocking it out of park with all these different sets of strings. Stringjoy, I've only tried these Phosphor bronze. I'm curious to try, I think they have an 80-20 bronze, and I'm curious to see if that's any better than these strings. And again, I'm always hesitant to say like what's better and what's not better, but I hope you like the video, and again, subscribe to the channel if you're new. That's really gonna help me grow, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.